This is the Living in Oneness podcast, in the Awareness podcast series. And this is Cyndi. And if I can do math in my head, this is the 10th interview that I've recorded this year. And it's very, very, very special because this is the first one that I am recording outside of the Living in Oneness kind of Teachers of God family. And I cannot be more excited than I am right now to introduce everyone to the beautiful Reverend Yolanda.
Oh, thank you, Cyndi. It's a pleasure to be with you always.
So Reverend Yolanda and I, we just end up in a lot of the same little squares on Zoom. Have
Yeah.
been doing that for the last couple of years.
Uh-huh.
And every time she shares and opens up, and the little bit I have heard about her amazing story, it just really it lights me up and it gets me really, really still. And when I reached out and said, hey, you want to do this with the intention, so you know, the intention is for you to listen, for you not to listen to Reverend Yolanda's story and say, oh, well, isn't she great? I can't be there.
Right.
But
Right.
it's more like being ourselves, knowing who and what we are, and making the steps to get there. It ain't always easy, but it's always worth it. And if I could tell you the punchline before I even give Reverend Yolanda a chance to tell us about herself, that would be it. That would be it. Yeah. So
Yes.
I was going to read your bio, but now I don't want to. Instead, I would love for you to just share with everyone who's listening and whatever it is you want people to know about who you are and what led you to being here with me now.
Aw, that's very sweet, Cyndi. Thank you so much. Well, so I always think it's important and interesting to share with folks that I am a trans femme genderqueer person, and my full legal name is Yolanda Roger Anthony Mapes, and I was born in Alabama in 1956, and of course my parents gave me the name Roger Anthony Mapes, but I always knew I was different. I was being raised as a boy, but I knew I was different than other boys, my brother, my father, the boys around me. I was more like the girls and my mom and my girl cousins who were my best friends, and I knew that I was more feminine than masculine. So it took me many years to reconcile that, but the way I did was through my spiritual process, through a spiritual, my spiritual journey, and through my music and art making, and which all ties in together as what I like to call my spiritual journey, my spiritual discipline. And so, I don't know. I think it's interesting and important to understand that, from my viewpoint, I see what we call God as, all of everything. So both male and female. So it was never a conflict for me. I was always interested in spirituality from a very early age, and I was raised in church, a Christian church, and a Methodist church, and then later I became very involved with a charismatic, non-denominational, charismatic, what we called then, it was the 70s, the Jesus Freak movement. And I moved into a commune called the Jesus Manor and lived in community with some very loving people whose intention it was to follow Jesus's model, in the world. And I really took to that, and everything was going really well until I was a teenager. my parent. Long story short, my I was born in Alabama. My parents moved to Florida when I was in high school. They had to move back to Alabama during my senior year of high school, so I finished my senior year living in the Jesus Manor. So I was a I had come out of the closet in fourth grade in Alabama, and that was a very difficult time for me. I was bullied very heavily and all that. So when we moved to Florida, I thought it was a fresh start, and so I went back into the closet. I didn't talk about, being queer or anything like that. And then I met the people in the commune, and I moved in with them, and everything was going great until I fell in love with my roommate. And then things got a little rocky. And, even in that beautiful, loving atmosphere, there was still a convention, a belief that, being queer was bad or wrong or whatever like that. So, but, I left that community and went to college and majored in musical theater and moved to New York City in 1983 to pursue performing. And I was openly queer for actually with a community around me for the first time in my life. And I explored, it was like a kid in a candy box. So I just went kind of hog wild. And this was the 80s and during the AIDS crisis, and I contracted HIV. So I got fairly my body took a turn for not so healthy. And it just so happened that I had met another group of people called the Radical Fairies who were sort of a pagan, goddessy type spiritual group who were queer and expressed a wide range of diversity and gender expression. So this interested me greatly. And as I was finding out I was HIV positive, I moved in with this group of people and began to call myself Yolanda. And that was in Vermont. So I left New York City in 1993 and moved to Vermont and lived in another commune. And this is where I took on the name Yolanda, and it became a spiritual force for me. It's when my life really kicked in as a performer and a community member, leader sort of person. And it's really when I began to feel my spiritual power for the first time, because I felt very empowered by the presence of goddess, with people calling on Mother Earth and calling on goddess energy a lot. So that resonated really beautifully with me, and I changed my name to Yolanda. It wasn't my legal name yet, but I changed my name to Yolanda, and I began performing. I created a band called Yolanda and the Plastic Family, and we gained a lot of popularity in the Northeast, and I started playing at CBGB's in New York City again. And so for several years I was traveling back and forth from Vermont to play at CBGB's a lot. So I finally decided in 2001 that I would move back to New York as Yolanda and see what happened. And in that process, I met my husband, Glenn, and we picked up A Course in Miracles. And we began to study it together. Now, we both had been introduced to A Course in Miracles earlier, like in the 80s, and when in New York City in the 80s, when the AIDS crisis was happening and so many people were dying, of course, Louise Hay was very prominent in our community and trying to help people with, her affirmations and things like that. And also Marianne Williamson was very prominent in our community, and we had a group called the Healing Circle where teachings from A Course in Miracles would be shared, and we would share that with each other. So I had exposure to A Course in Miracles for a while, but I never really read it. You know how that is, like a lot of times, oh yeah, I know about A Course in Miracles, but you never read it. So so in early 2000s, Glenn and I picked up A Course in Miracles. We were both it just captivated us. We were both very intrigued by it and began to practice living how what A Course in Miracles says. And so that was, I think we first picked up the book in like 2006, and we haven't stopped reading it since. We read it every year all the way through, and now we teach courses and this, that, and the other and all that. But before we got to where we are today, Glenn and I decided to go to seminary. So we were both interested in spiritual things from being youngsters, and we decided to go to One Spirit Interfaith Seminary here in New York City. And I graduated in 2011. He stayed for an extra course, and he graduated in 2012. But I graduated as Rev Yolanda, and we started our ministry, which is now called Church with a 2-Drink Minimum. And our Wednesday night classes, where we have an online study group, and we, really dive deeper every year, it seems, into the heart and soul of what A Course in Miracles is. And in that process, we connected with Regina Dawn Akers, and actually we connected with her fairly early in me and Glenn's relationship, like right after she wrote NTI, the Holy Spirit's Interpretation of the New Testament. And we went to a retreat, A Course in Miracles retreat in New Hampshire. And it was our first time meeting other Course in Miracles people. And Regina was there, and she had NTI with her. And so simultaneously we became introduced to the Course in Miracles community. And I believe Bill Free is a part of the
Vicky, because that was the whole copies. You came
all of
into
them.
That whole community. Yep.
Yeah, we met everybody, and it was really exciting to meet everyone and to see now how we've all grown and branched out in the things that we're doing now. It's very interesting. So then. So Glenn and I graduated from seminary. We started our ministry, and it was going really well. We were doing actually our live ministry in the clubs and cabaret clubs and stuff here in New York City, and that's why we call our church with the 2-Drink Minimum, because you would have to buy 2 drinks in order to have a seat at the club. But it went really well, and it was a lot of fun, and people seemed to really like it. And then, of course, COVID came in 2020, and that's when we really started becoming an integral part of the Awakening Together community. And so since then, I really do feel like our ministry has grown and taken a turn that we would have never expected. And it's just been so wonderful to be super involved with the Awakening Together community, and to see how our ministries intersect, because they do. So now, because I love to read books and study things and all of this kind of stuff, but I'm in the MPP program that Awakening Together has for their ministerial program, and I'm really glad I am, because it is the kind of interfaith program that I really hoped my first seminary would be. And just came back recently from the retreat center in Colorado with Awakening Together to celebrate Regina's retirement. So these past almost 3 years have been just strikingly growth opportunities, for me. And of course, in the squares in the sanctuary, I met you, and we started really vibing on each other and
dancing together.
Yeah, dancing and all that. And of course, me and Glenn were like, oh, we gotta have lunch with Cyndi. She's somewhere around here. So I contacted her, so like, don't you live in Long Island? You're like, no, I live in Buffalo. And we were like, oh, dang. But anyway, we get to see you fairly regularly now, and it's really lovely. So, I guess that's sort of short and sweet, but it brings me up to where I am you know,
There
at
is,
this
yeah,
moment.
there's something because I loved that story and I have a bunch of questions, which is
Oh,
really cool. So,
good.
but here's the first one, this whole living in oneness experience that we have 300 people that have gone through with the Teachers of God Foundation. The focus was really on taking the beautiful teachings and the poetry and everything of the Course in Miracles
Yeah.
and the basic direct path of non-duality and Rupert Spira and these teachings and merging them
Yes.
together to extract the truth, you know, and
Yes.
live from that place.
Right.
And I've heard your story before, and I know where you are, and I've heard you teach. So you and Glenn come predominantly from the course background, sort of, kind of, but
Hmm.
your teaching isn't fundamentalist course teachings,
No.
and the decision to live from our truth, right? These teachings, whether they're Rupert Spira or Regina Dawn Akers or A Course in Miracles or Adyashanti or
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Tao. I don't
Yeah.
remember which class you're taking right now, but
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
all point to this same life is good.
Hmm.
Let's live, when we are following our divine path, there's no saying what it's going to look like. Like there are no rules in the world, right?
Right.
The
Right.
rules
Yeah.
are this is where I kind of, your story I think lights me up because I've I've been in the squares when you haven't been having a great day. I've
Right.
been in the squares when you're celebrating and entertaining and full of life,
Hmm.
and it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
When you're
Yeah.
living from our internal truth, the outer experience becomes secondary, doesn't it? And I
It so does. Yeah, it really does. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah.
no, no, no.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so grateful for this teaching and this understanding, this non-dual understanding, which I think really is visible in A Course in Miracles. However, I hadn't reached that understanding until I really connected with Awakening Together and having the discussions that we were having and still are having. I think especially us looking at TED Talks together and talking about them has been super powerful for me and helping me understand how this is all connected, how we're all connected, and really saying the same things. So some of the practices now, I do the morning uh, loving your consciousness meditations, and
Awareness, watching awareness.
awareness of watching awareness.
Pause.
I love it. It gives me such a tool to work with throughout the day. And I am able now to see my thoughts, before I go down the rabbit hole and make a decision whether I want to go down the rabbit hole or not. And still sometimes I decide I do. you know. I mean, and I've been working on this song. It's based on something that Jacqueline said, but it reminded me of the old kid song "Row, row, 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 row your boat gently down the stream." And so I'm working on a version of that with a Sanskrit mantra interspersed in between it that is just praise to life and just the enjoyment of all the beauty of life, just the living in each moment and everything like that. And what I'm finding is that I saw one day Jacqueline just leaned back in her chair and she did this and she was just like, or we could just simply float down the stream, like that. And I get that. I get that now. I really do. And I'm really excited about working with that, all the time. Like, how, thoughts just arise or whatever, and they may be, I mean, why am I thinking that right now? I'm not even, like, there's nothing in my set of circumstances that I'm interacting with that would make me think about that, right? So that very fact, just looking at that very fact, has sort of released me from this idea that thoughts are anything but objects, or arisings and fallings, that can just be simply looked at, and in the looking and the awareness of it, healing can occur, just immediately, So, and I'm not afraid of my thoughts anymore. I'm not afraid of fear thoughts. I'm not afraid of the stories that I want to tell myself, because I know they're not true. And
Do you
so,
remember when you were afraid?
oh, when I was afraid, yes, I do. Um, actually, fairly recently, I was going through a thing where, and this is why I wanted to say at the beginning of our time together that I'm a trans femme genderqueer person, because our community faces challenges in the world in which we live and everything like that, and so there was a time fairly recently, right as we were entering into the pandemic and things like that, and a little bit before, where I became very, very afraid of what laws might be made and what possibilities there would be with that and everything, because it was not too long ago that it was illegal for queers to get married, like that kind of thing. And so if there is a more draconian regime in power, then how is that going to affect my life and the lives of my friends and this, that, and the other? And so I went in this real dark space, and that was, you might have caught some of that, being some of my, like, not so great days, because I was really living with a lot of fear, and like I said, that was not too long ago, but something truly shifted over this past year, to where I sort of have a balance. I know that what my fear thoughts are not true, and the more that I indulge myself in those fear thoughts, the more of that vibration that I put out into the world, into my surroundings, and even in what I attract. I mean, this is sort of very basic understanding, but isn't it funny how at different times in your life, the same lesson appears to you in a new way, in a way you hadn't thought about, or in a really real way that affects your daily thinking, or the way you go about your business. Because I do remember a marked difference between, like, now, where I can look at my thoughts and be aware of what's going on, and before, when I wasn't really able to, and the kind of vibrational energies that would be responding to me, like, getting called names on the street or harassed or whatever like that, versus today, like, being like, this, to me, this is just so funny. Like, here in Brooklyn, I have to move the car, alternate side of the street parking, right? So so I'm running out the door. I'm in the meditation, and all of a sudden, it's nearing the end of the meditation, thank God. And all of a sudden, I remember, oh my God, I got to move the car, So I jump up, I throw in some clothes, I run down the street to my car, and I trip and fall flat on my face, because I'm rushing and I'm trying to, get to the car before the ticket officer gets there, So I trip and I fall flat on my face, and not one but three people came to me going, are you okay? Are you all right? Are you, and in my neighborhood, it's a conservative neighborhood, and most folks know who me and Glenn are, but have had a history of sort of like, oh yeah, it's those two, but like today, like, it felt like the whole neighborhood came to my rescue, you know what I mean? So to me, it's about what I'm putting out there, and it was so funny. So I got up and thanked everybody, and I was just so grateful, and I made it to my car. But once again, I didn't fall down, but I was rushing again, and I got really discombobulated. And right about that time, this woman walks past me, and she looks at me and she goes, "You just look so beautiful today." Out of the blue. And I was just standing there in all my discombobulated glory, trying to figure out, pull myself together and button my shirt and all this stuff. And she walks by and she's like, "You just look absolutely beautiful today." And I don't know who this person was. So it was really, really funny. I've been laughing at myself all day, just like, okay, you can make up stories all you want, but they're just really not true. And people are surrounding you and showing you the love. So,
There is something what you shared that I would love to point, like just pull out.
okay.
The work comes first, which is so
Yeah.
interesting. And I just heard it, right? So
Mhm.
there's that inner drive. You had no choice. Like we hear your story, fear puts you in a closet,
Right.
right?
Right.
There's an inner drive. I can't survive. And I've had moments like that over the decades where
Yeah.
I can't live like this anymore.
Right.
So even though the fear still surrounds us, we step out and say, I can't be that anymore. I
Exactly.
don't know how to be who I am, but I have no choice. So
Right.
and I heard it in your story, and I wanted to say it out loud, just how
Yeah.
something is pulling us in. And I've heard Regina and others,
Yeah.
and I've heard these amazing teachers. Shakti in Italy this week, she literally just said to me, "You're not writing the script. There
Wow.
is love. The only reason, Reverend Yolanda, you and I are in this moment right now is because love scripted this experience.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
that our conditioned minds could have done to keep us from each other in this moment.
Right.
That's
Right.
like extraordinary. So it pulls us here, but here we're choosing truth, we're choosing truth, we're choosing truth, but our experience is one of fear
Yeah.
and chaos and smallness anyway. And it's in that moment that we get to choose to use the tools.
Yeah.
The big one in the living in oneness experience, which we called by any other names, is just pause. You just
Yeah.
stop and you put a space between you and your thoughts and
Yeah.
go, I'm not that. And I don't know how many hours I've looked and said, it feels like I'm that. My body's
Mhm.
responding as if I'm that, but
Yes.
I ain't.
Yes.
And you sit
Exactly.
and you let it like
Mhm.
all stir and
Mhm.
this, I'm not going to act like I am who I think I am because I'm going to trust that I'm not, right? And then
Exactly.
all of a sudden I heard you just say it. All of a
Mhm.
sudden you're looking around going, world's a much happier, much kinder place right now. I
Yeah.
don't know what happened.
Exactly. you know, and it's so funny because that's why I write my songs. Well, I mean, I've been a singer songwriter and performer since I was 16. However, at this point in my life, my intention with my music is to get me back into right mind. You know what I mean? So that's really why I write the songs I do, right now. And it is so helpful because that's a tool that I can immediately go for. I'll just start singing a song and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's why I wrote that song. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So
Well, Spirit gave it to me, but that's how. Right now, I'm sort of I'm reading Inner Ramana, and so the mantra is I am that I am that I am that I am that I am, and so last night, right as I was going to bed, it came to me like this: I am that I am that I am that I am. I am that I am that I am. I am that I am that I am that I am. I am that I am. I am. And I couldn't sleep till I had. So obviously, it's the House of the Rising Sun melody, and I've never used it. Like some people, use it to sing "Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound," but I've never used it for any other purpose or anything. But all of a sudden, when I was laying down to go to sleep, it just came in. I am that I am, and I was just like, wow, this is such a great game. So I was singing that this morning when I was running down the street and tripping. And I just had to go, well, I am that I am, and everybody came to help me. And, it's just, I don't know, just little things like that, really prove stuff to me, just really shows up to me. I mean, God's love is so deep and so in every instance, and I'm so blessed to be living the life that I'm living. I love my life, I absolutely love it. So, yeah.
You are love living.
Yes, I am love living, and so are you, Miss Beautiful. I love your haircut, by the way.
Very much. Do you want to spend a few minutes talking a little bit more about
Sure.
music as a ministry?
Oh,
And
absolutely, yeah.
and
One
whether
of
or
my
not you're going to
favorites.
sing anything else for us before the end of this, or
Oh, I sure will. I've got my guitar over here if you'd like to hear something. Um, yeah, so music has always been a ministry for me, really. I started singing in church, and my first band was called the Amplified New Testament. We were, a Christian singing group, and that's where I learned to play the guitar and sing and write songs and all that kind of stuff. And so, really, music for me has always been about message. I mean, even pop radio things that I like and growing up and stuff, I usually respond to what it has to say to me, And so as I got older, I mean, I moved to New York to create music and be a performance artist and see what I could do and all that kind of thing. And then when I moved to Vermont, everything just broke wide open for me because I had stepped into my authentic self in a way that I had never had before. So I began to write this sort of self-empowerment music. I wasn't quite into the spiritual path as we know it now, but I had sort of taken a clue, I guess, from the Louise Hay type of work. And by the way, I do still use as a mantra one of her lists of affirmations that really just saved my life, and many times over. I even wrote a song, and maybe I'll play that. It's called "I Love Myself." She has this whole list of affirmations starting with "I love myself," and I took that on. So when I came into my own as Yolanda and formed my band and everything, I started creating music that had a powerful self-empowerment message, and that led me to seminary. And when I got to seminary, I began to fuse sacred songs from my Christian tradition with mantras and stuff, mantras from the East that I felt intertwined with those messages. So that's kind of the train that I've been on for a while now. And then, A Course in Miracles lessons in particular inspire a lot of my music. So currently I'm working on a new album, actually, and I was just talking to my producer before you and I got together, and we're going to start with a song that's inspired, like I said, by Jacqueline leaning back in her chair and saying, why don't we just, float down the stream? So it's called Row Your Boat, but it's got the mantra Ramada Sasa Seso hung in it, just this glorious praise mantra. And you know, these are two I began writing this way because I began to understand that this is a way for me to practice the Course in Miracles lesson for the day, or whatever I'm learning at the moment. This is a way for me to practice it, you know. And then when I share it with others, you know, it lands however it lands with folks. But I see so many times how it lands with folks, and they really appreciate it. You know, I was just performing a concert at a women's shelter, and it was a glorious experience, and I got everybody singing along, you know, to I Love Myself, and they were people in the room where they're just singing I love myself, you know, at the top of their lungs. It was just so wonderful, you know. So yeah, it's very powerful. I think it's a very powerful tool. It certainly is healing for me, you know.
Do you sing with the kids too? I know you go and read
Yes,
in the
I
libraries. Do you sing with them as well?
I do. Like, that's most of what I do. Of course, I have these wonderful books, you know, that they're writing now for kids, and it's a great joy to work with kids and young parents, you know, to see how the youth, at least that I come in contact with, are being really supported in their lives, you know, in how their lives are unfolding. That's, you know, because some kids like me, I came out of the closet in the 4th grade, but didn't have any support around it, so it was very scary. But now I meet kids, and I just did actually a photo shoot with one of those kids yesterday, and now they're 15 years old. I met them when they were 10, and they had just come out, and I met not only him but his family, and we've become, it's just become glorious to see how his family provides an energy around him to express himself the way he wants to, you know, and the way he feels is natural to him. So he was in one of my videos, actually, called my video Let Go of Grievances. But this is a real joy to bring my songs and you know, my life story and things like that to younger generations. It's really, really lovely, and I can see how had I had that support, you know, it would have been an awesome thing for me. But I don't regret my past, you know, at all.
I heard a rumor that it never existed.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Thank you. Thank you for bringing the truth into that conversation. So yeah, we are what we are, and I am what I am, and here I am right now with you. So
So are you going to sing for us?
oh sure, why not? Let's do it. All right. Let's see. Well, you know, I had a feeling to sing this particular song called Home, so I think that's what I'll do. Want to know the place that's always green? Do you want to see the things we seldom see? And do you want to hear things we barely hear? Well, I found my way there. I can take you there. I can take you there. place that never changes. It's the love inside yourself that never changes. Home is the place that never changes. And I found my way home. Do you want to know the way of time and space? Do you need a place that nothing can erase? And do you need to be through eternity? Well, I found my way there. I can take you there. I can take you there. Home is the place that never changes. It's the love inside yourself that never changes. Home is the place that never changes. And I found my way home. 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 Never changes. It's the love inside yourself that never changes. And I found my way home. I found my way home.
It feels so good inside, Rev Yolanda.
Thank you, Cyndi. Oh, goodness gracious.
Ah, that long, beautiful journey to the home we've never left.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow. You know, that means so much to me. I mean, I wrote this song a long time ago and it was given to me literally, like zoop, you know. And at the time, I didn't really get the depth of it, you know, the fullness of it. But now I certainly do. I really certainly do. We never left.
And we can rest there, like right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is so what else? Is there anything else that you want to share with oh, other than your just overwhelming joy, eh?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I want to share that. Well, when I was at the retreat with Regina this past time, she said something remarkable, and it's true. And you know, and sometimes people say this to me: "Oh, you're so happy go lucky. You must have never had any problems in your life. You know, like how can you just be so happy all the time?" And I'm like, well, you could too. You could be also if you choose to be. It requires discipline and practice, and it's not hard. It's just practice, you know. And so Regina said a similar thing. She goes, "It's time for me to leave because I want you guys to do it." You know. So she's stepping down from her leadership position and all of that so that we can not rely on her to do it for us, you know. And I thought that was profound. So I'm that's what I would like to leave with, I think, is that we can all do this, you know. It just requires our desire to do so and our willingness and our practice. It's just practice.
We have to practice relaxing.
Yeah.
We have to practice knowing all is well.
Yeah.
For me, and you spoke to it so beautifully. My current practice really is not hiding what this body, mind, personality is experiencing in the moment, allowing it to come up in all its beautiful,
right,
multicolored firework flavor,
Yeah.
just not believe it.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
an extra, oh, look at me not believing I'm Cyndi again.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
but that's essentially it.
Hmm.
Well, look at these stories that have seemed to flow through the last 60 years.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing that the only reason they flowed through the last 60 years is because I've given them believing attention?
Exactly. I know. To me, that's jaw dropping. I'm just like, yeah, that's why. That's why they showed up.
So we get to, at any time we want, right? Like
Yeah.
right now, like right
Yeah.
now,
Right
right
now.
now,
And
we
right
get
now.
to, we could step out of believing the story and then watch it
Right.
go shh.
Yeah. One thing I've been thinking about lately is, and something else we discussed in the retreat. What is a fact? What is a belief? And what is an imagination? Right? What is your imagination? You know what I mean? So, like, if it's a fact, okay, accept the. It's a fact. Accept the facts. Um, I believe things all the time that are not true. You know what I mean? So you can catch yourself. Oh, is that true? I think even, and then the story I tell about the belief, and takes me on and on. But that can work in the negative and also in the positive. I mean, you can reinforce what you know is true with the stories you tell and the beliefs that you hold on to and the facts, because the facts are, I am one with you. I am one with those I don't like. We are one, and that is a fact. So how do I work, from there, and I find it just really exciting. I really do.
And it feels so good, right? It
Yeah. Yeah.
feels so good to be able to look at what appears to be real
Hmm.
and just call it out.
Yeah.
Nah.
Just
And
call
then, watch your little conservative neighborhood melt
it.
and
Yes.
remind you how
Yeah.
gorgeous you are.
It's so hilarious. I know. Oh, these people are staring at me. They don't like me. La, 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 la. Oh, hi. Gosh, you look beautiful today.
Well, I love you,
I
Reverend.
love you too, Cyndi. I
And I
really
am,
do.
you know, the secret that I'm not going to make a secret anymore. A big part of the reason I was like, maybe she'll spend this hour with me is because we never get to do this,
Oh,
right?
I
We're
know.
always in these meetings with
Yeah.
a dozen other people. We
Yeah.
never get to have this kind of conversation.
Uh-huh.
So we get
Yeah.
to have the conversation we would have had if it was
Yes.
just us,
Yeah.
only we get to share it with whoever it is that's going to listen, which is
Yeah.
also so cool.
It is. It really is.
So cool.
I love that we're, the pandemic actually worked in such a wonderful way on my life. It expanded my family, and the reach of what I have to offer and everything. And I don't, I don't suppose we would have ever met. We might have, but this is the way we met, through Zoom. And how incredible is that? You're very dear to us, both me and Glenn. We talk about you a lot. Just like you say, just being able to have a conversation with you like this, just you and me, is such a joy. So thank you for inviting me.
And since there are no secrets in the one mind, it's really cool that you and I are having this intimate conversation with whoever else wants to listen in.
Exactly.
And I already, because I've got chills, there are people out there right now going, oh, you mean I don't have to be afraid
Right.
of my fear? That's the big one for me.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of your fear. Just
Yes.
kind of let it come up, watch it,
Hmm.
call it out for what
Yeah.
it is, and
Yeah.
go on living your badass, authentic self.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I really know that works because I've been doing a lot of practice with that. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Well, your light and your love is melting all the blocks. So to call you friend is like, you see who you are So right now I know I'm gorgeous.
Yay!
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Awareness Podcast. This is Living in Oneness with Cyndi and Rev Yolanda. Depending on, please leave your comments, share the recording with everyone. And you're probably on this page with all the other recordings with Reverend Susan Telford and
Yeah.
Jenny Beal, I think you can find there, and
Yeah,
Bill
yeah,
Free
yeah, yeah.
and Jackie. We're all there in different places. So listen to them all. They all have these beautiful nuggets that are going to spark something in
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I just wanted to say if anybody wanted to, check out my website or whatever, it's easy to remember. It's yolanda.net. And so everything's on there, music and videos and all kinds of stuff.
you. I've listened to one or two or 20 or 30. It's a cool way of raising your vibration quickly.
Oh, thank you.
All right, everyone. Love you.
Mm.
We'll see you next time. Bye bye.